Hey, Pammy. I'm going to give it a minute or two to let everybody get in and get settled and get their popcorn, get their wine, put their feet up. Welcome in. Pammy, it definitely looks like it's me and you. Let me find out. We're going to have one. I'll be preaching to an army of one. Okay, well, we're going to give it a minute, let everybody get in here right now. Y'all just enjoy my intro.
Moment is alive. Rose T on the mic, bringing truth with a little drive. We're breaking down the noise, what's real, what's next, how the world hits home and the stories it affects. So welcome to Rose T's political perspective, where the heart beats strong and the lens is reflective. If you're looking for a space where the real connects, lean in, turn the mic on. Let's get to what's next. Rose T. Let's get into it. The moment is alive. Rose T on the mic, bringing truth with a little drive. We're breaking down the noise, what's real, what's next, how the world hits home and the stories it affects. So welcome to Rose T's political perspective, where the heart beats strong and the lens is reflective. If you're looking for a space where the real connects, lean in, turn the mic on. Let's get to what's next. Rose T. Let's get into it. Moment is alive. Rose T on the mic, bringing truth with a little drive. We're breaking down the noise, what's real, what's next, how the world hits home and the stories it affects.
Well, hey, hopefully y'all can hear me. Give me a one in that chat. Let me know you can hear me. All right.
Street lights blinking on a worn downtown. Folks pushing through just to get around. Bills keep rising, pockets feeling thin. But the story's deeper than the place we're in. Something's gotta shift, yeah, it's clear to see. This moment's calling for a new energy. perspective. Now let's start the show. Let's get into it. Oh, yeah.
This is killing me.
Street lights blinking on a worn downtown. Folks pushing through just to get.
You guys hang out for just a second. I'm trying to figure this out.
Keep rising, pockets feeling thin. But the story's deeper than the place we're in. Something's gotta shift, yeah, it's clear to see. This moment's calling for a new energy. Rosie's got a view with a different hue, shining light on the people and the things we do. Common ground's a garden where the real can grow. That's the perspective. Now let's start the show. Let's get into it. Oh, yeah. Street lights blinking on a worn downtown. Folks pushing through just to get around.
Okay, guys, we're back. We're ready. We're ready to start the show. Sorry, I couldn't get my picture to load, so it was driving me crazy because it just kept showing the black screen. But I figured it out, and now we're good. So welcome in, everybody. Thanks for coming. We got a few things to cover. I have a special guest, Marky Dan. He's going to come up and join me in just a few minutes, so we can get to the business of the businessing. But first, let me just say welcome to Rose T's Political Perspective. I'm your host, Rose T. And before we get anything further out of the way, let me just tell you I am a progressive. I'm just telling you that flat out. And what does that mean? That means that I care about justice. I care about equality. I care about people. I want to make sure that we at the bottom 99% are getting something out of all this sweat equity we are putting into this country. So before we start talking about what this country can do for us, let's talk about what our country's been going through. We're going to cover the supposed assassination attempt at the White House Correspondents' Dinner by the suspected gunman, Cole Thomas Allen. We're going to get into the latest in the Iran conflict, Operation Epic Fury. We're going to touch a little bit on Candace Owens getting her reality check, or as we would normally say, her Black girl wake-up call. It's another word we use, but I'm not going to use that right now. And then if we have a little some time at the end of the show, my sissy, Maria, gave me some homework to do. So I'm going to give you guys my impression of Maryland's governor, Wes Moore. So learned a little bit about him, and we'll see what we're going to do with that. So without further ado, we're going to start the show. So Marky Dan, if you'd like to come up and join me, I'd appreciate it. And while I wait for Marky Dan to come up, the first thing I wanted to touch on was this supposed assassination attempt at the White House. Supposedly, the suspect was able to break through the security checkpoint, went into a private room, loaded up his, several weapons, and also had several knives on him, and was able to get there. And some shots were shot. And I think one of the agents was shot in the vest. The gentleman wasn't harmed. He was able to be apprehended. Now, I personally am looking at that a little sideways because two things. One, the suspect was a Black male. We are murdered just for having cell phones in our hands. So you're telling me he has all this heavy artillery, yet he arrives alive? That's crazy. And his supposed crime was to try to take out the leader of the United States. I'm calling fishy on that. Like, this is literally what my impression is. I think there's something not quite right about this, and I don't know if it's to, divert people's attention. Look over here. I mean, it worked for the election because there were 2 attempts, and somehow all of a sudden he is the leader of the free world. So, was it to divert attention, or is this a real thing? And I wanted to ask you guys what you thought about it. So I have a poll here. What do you think? Do you believe the assassination attempt at the White House Correspondents' Dinner was real? So if you guys don't mind, go ahead and take that poll. Let me know what your impressions are. And we'll leave that up for a little while. I'll take it down maybe about the next 10 minutes or so. So the next thing I wanted to cover was the Iran conflict. I am not pleased about this current state of affairs. I'm not pleased at all. I feel like money is being wasted. We talked in our last live about how so much money has been wasted, where it could go to education, it could go to food, it could go to, medical care, so many things. Over 5,000 veterans who risk their lives for this country are walking around homeless. So I feel like money could be spent better elsewhere. The current state of the Iran conflict is we're supposedly in a very weak peace agreement, very weak. And at any possible turn, it could be, done away with. And the reason for that is Israel is sabotaging it. Every time I turn around, Israel is dropping bombs on Lebanon. The agreement was supposed to be that Lebanon was not to be touched and there's a ceasefire, but Israel is steadily dropping bombs on Lebanon. We've only had 13 service members die for this needless war. There has been at least 3,000 casualties between Iran and Lebanon alone. So these people are losing their lives. Schools have been shot up, all kinds of things. And we still don't know what the heck we're doing there, because Iran was not on any of our radars. So I don't know why we're there. And from last count, so far, we've spent $42 billion on this conflict. We spent $42 billion. They went back to Congress and asked for an extra $200 billion. They're asking for an extra $200 billion. I don't know if Congress is going to give it to him because they refuse to take away his powers now. So it is anybody's guess if they get the money. And I feel like they will, because Congress is weak. And we'll cover that, because I think Congress should go. I think anybody that's not doing their job, they need to get out. They need to get out. And I'm sorry, I was so rude. I just went right into everything. Hi, everybody. I saw Judge Shady Court. Hey, love. I see Nesta Girl. Hey, boo. I see my sissy Maria. I see my baby Quinn. You guys, thank you so much for coming. And then Pammy was like the first to start the show with me. So mwah, mwah, mwah. I love you all. Let me get back to me fussing and ranting about this unnecessary war. Like I said, they asked for an extra $200 billion in supplemental funding. There's so much we could be doing with this money. I already covered, education costs, medical costs. They literally, when they started to give, I think they were giving some type of money. I can't remember what it was, but it took children out of poverty. It took school-age children out of poverty. They just cut that funding. And for the life of me, I can't remember what that funding was, but they cut that. And so somehow they were able to get half of the poverty rates cut into half, right? So there's so much more we could do with this money, as opposed to going to other people's countries, destroying them. And then, oh, by the way, guess what? We're going to spend more billions after that to rebuild their countries. So the only people benefiting right now is the war contractor. They're benefiting. Innocent people are dying. And this is done in the American people's name. And I really hate that. It irritates me to no end that they do this in the American people's name, because people start to think it's us. Death to America is what they say. And let me make sure I'm saying that. Air quotes, YouTube. That's not me saying it. That is what is said about us. And then you have folks walking around in these bubbles that don't know what's going on. And they wonder why all of a sudden we get a 9/11. And then they're like, what did we do? We're people are just mad at us. They hate us. They're jealous because we have freedoms. No, they are angry that we go into their countries. We blow them up. We kill their families. We kill children. They just blew up a school full of girls. And then when they get angry and they get radicalized, they come here and they willingly take their own lives to take ours. And I'm tired of them doing that in our name, because I don't think anybody is for this war. And the people that are for it, they either have never had to send their kids a war, they've never had to put their child in harm's way, they never put themselves in harm's way. Lindsey Graham, Chuck Schumer. So while you're so flippantly risking the bottom half's life, because never get it twisted, the military is in place and they have this volunteer military. I put that with finger quotes, because certain people can't afford an education. I know Talisha got her bachelor's degree and her associate's degree through the United States military, courtesy of that funding. I have healthcare to this day because I went into the military. Things that I can pay for. My husband had to have a surgery a couple of years back. That's not a bill that we could have afforded, but it was completely free because I went and risked my life for this country. And nobody should have to die just so they can get healthcare. Nobody should have to die just so they can get an education, so they can sustain themselves and their family. Because they tell you all you got to do is pull yourself up by the bootstraps and you will be fine. That's not true. They cut the straps. There are no fucking boots. It's literally, the game is set to keep people at the bottom so the rich can stay at the top. I heard Elon Musk is almost a trillionaire. He's almost a trillionaire. There's a problem with that. That one man has so much wealth, and then there's a bottom 99% that's barely making it to payday. They're making it from payday to payday if they get that far. And then they have the nerve to arrest people when they're floating checks because they call it fraud. Well, what do you call the fraud at the top that's keeping us poor? Hold on, my friend Marky Dan is here. Welcome to the stage, Marky Dan. How are you?
What's up? Good evening. Good evening. How you
Everybody,
doing,
please
Rosie?
welcome in Marky Dan. Hey, we were just talking about the Iran war, how they are leveraging our poor and our needy to fight this ungodly war, something they have yet to justify to me. What is your take on the current state of affairs, this very flimsy
Well,
ceasefire that it
right
seems like
now,
Israel is trying
we're
to
in a stalemate. We are experiencing mission drift, which is at this point we our initial goals of the war was regime change and to prevent Iran from attaining a nuclear weapon, as well as to cause a populist uprising inside of Iran. All three of those, at least at this point, have failed, and so now we're in a stage where the mission, or rather the objectives, have shifted now to the Strait of Hormuz, which was open before the war. And now, as a result of the war, it's closed. And we're going to get into that White House Correspondents' Dinner attempted assassination. But nobody's paying attention to the fact the price of, or at least the Brent benchmark for crude is now past $110 per barrel, and gas prices are now back to skyrocketing. So
yep.
nobody's talking about that. I just think tactically, our military has done a great job. You just read off some of the stats. 3,000 casualties. Now, a lot of those are civilian, but a hell of a lot of those are also Iranian combatants. So
Mm.
tactically, we've done a good job on striking them, but strategically, we are getting humiliated every which way.
100%, but I honestly don't even think we should tactically be there. I personally feel that we are in this conflict to deflect, to fight somebody else's war, because the government of Israel has wanted Iran taken down for as longer than I've been alive, and so now they have somebody in place now that is willing to do all the things, and for whatever reason, our country capitulates to Israel. I thought it was America first.
Well, it's never been America first, particularly with Donald Trump. It's always been about cutting taxes for the rich and it's always been about being as subservient as he could be to the Israel lobby. Merriam Adelson gave this man 250, or excuse me, I think it was $400 million as a campaign donation. And we all know Donald Trump and most of these politicians really, they find ways to pocket that. So I'm not
True.
surprised at all whatsoever. We also know Jared Kushner, Steve Witkoff, both of them are Zionists. Mike Huckabee, the ambassador to Israel, all of them have their hooks and claws into Trump. And Bibi Netanyahu came to Donald Trump and he sold this war, at least based on the reporting, excuse me, from the New York Times that I read. And he sold this war to Donald Trump on the basis that we can get rid of Iran and it's going to be this great victory. And you're going to be remembered like Woodrow Wilson and Eisenhower and FDR and Truman. But no, this war is definitely going to be a part of his legacy forever, but not in the
Not in a
way
good way.
not in the way the orange idiot probably thought that it was going to be. And I just don't see any good outcomes. Like we're bombing schools, we're bombing hundreds of hospitals, we're killing little children. And then you brought up what's going on in Lebanon. What's going on in Lebanon is just a failure of the United Nations and international law. And right now we're in a very scary place because I could go back in history to the times of international lawlessness. You go back to when the Kaiser invaded Austria and Luxembourg. That sparked World War One. When Japan marched into Manchuria, when they invaded China and all those other places, and then they came after Pearl Harbor, and then we obviously had Germany doing what Germany was doing. So I don't like the place that we're currently in. That being said, I'm kind of hopeful that the orange idiot will just wear himself out eventually, and maybe he might just pull back and there might be a PR victory. But for all the money that was wasted, like you just said, and then we have like 15 service members that have died. I mean, was it worth it? I
I
don't
don't
think
think
so.
so.
No.
No. And my thing is, right now, I just read that there's, I guess, a blockade on both sides from the Iran military and the United States military trying to block the Strait of Hormuz. We don't own that. That's theirs. Who told us, America, that we can go into other people? Do you know how we would obliterate people to try to come and block any of our things? So I don't get why that is just the height of just audacity. And somebody's going to be the voice of reason. There's got to be somebody that's like, this is wrong. We need to stop this. And nobody's putting the brakes on. There's no brakes.
Well, the voice of reason is probably going to be China. This war, and I hear a lot of people say that China is benefiting from this war. They're really not. About 40% of their energy supply comes through the Strait of Hormuz. So the blockade that Donald Trump is putting on right now, that is economically hurting them. On top of the fact, China is an export economy, so they need certain things coming in all the time. They need helium, they need petrochemicals so that they could have fertilizer and so that they could plant crops with the spring and the summer that's coming up. So and then Donald Trump, he's going to be going to China for a summit. I think they're having next month. So him and President Xi, they're going to be talking to each other. They're going to wine and dine Donald Trump. They're probably going to put on some huge parade for that idiot, and he's gonna try to sweet talk him into pulling off. He's just gonna try to sweet talk him into some deal that hopefully, maybe Iran agrees to what was the Obama deal. 3% in enriched uranium, and then the rest gets transported out of the country and maybe sold back to them. And then they get sanctions lifted, and then we lift the blockade, and oil prices go back to normal. But then Donald Trump, being the idiot he is, says, I agree with President Xi on Taiwan. What's Taiwan's not our problem, which will be a disaster. But nonetheless, that's a disaster for the future. And this is the disaster of now. So I think that's what's more than likely going to happen.
I agree. I really have not been paying attention to the other superpowers that are invested or have vested interests on either side. I do know Russia and China seem to have aligned with Iran, and we don't want to, piss them off. I know that. So all the bluster and everything will probably result in them getting the exact same deal that Barack Obama had, and then he's going to put Trump on it, which is fine. I don't think anybody cares but him. So if that stops this and he gets to now name the Iran peace deal, the Trump Iran peace deal, make it happen. Because nobody else is 4 years old and need to have that ownership.
Yeah, I mean, he's just an absolute child. I mean, he wrote a letter to the Norwegians. I think the Norwegian Prime Minister saying he was pissed that he didn't get the Nobel Peace Prize, and that he no
Mhm.
longer has to consider peace. And then he's threatening to erase civilizations because they won't open the straits, and everybody just seems to be giving him his giving him their ass to kiss, and telling him to F off, and the Iranians absolutely do not respect them.
No.
So you see him lash out like a little child a lot. So, and this is what happens.
And that's not okay because your pride is not worth innocent lives. And so I don't know what needs
But
to happen. What needs to happen.
another thing, Rosie, I just find it really funny because you'll hear a lot of people say that Kamala Harris couldn't be the leader because she was a woman.
Right. And
Because
we're
women are too
emotional.
temperamental. They
Yeah.
can't lead in heated situations. And then meanwhile, you got this freaking guy. He threatens to erase civilizations. Like, if that was Kamala Harris, they would have called her Hot Flash Harris, Huku
All that.
Kamala, all that.
All that.
Like, I mean, so the guy is, even though he's orange, he's white. So the Republicans, like I've seen the polling, like Republicans are still strongly supporting him, even though it's down from 90% to like 85%. They're still
Right.
behind him, but
Right.
all the crap they be saying.
Yeah. I don't understand what there is to support. They're not even getting any kind of benefits. So it's beyond me
That's not
what
true. That's not true. The
what
oil people in the U.S. are getting the benefits. Their prices
no,
are nice and high.
I'm talking about the MAGA cult. They're not benefiting at all.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, like, they're the Jim Jones people. They're a cult. I mean, you just said it. Like, they'll drink Kool-Aid if it makes They'll drink the Kool-Aid if it makes Mr. Trump happy. You know, if
100%. And
Donald
I'm
Trump
telling you,
pulls his ass, what you
go
say?
ahead. No, you go ahead.
No, I was just gonna quickly say. I mean, if Donald Trump were to pull his pants down and take a huge dump on the White House lawn, they would find some way to say, well, Joe Biden or Barack Obama. Like, I just don't have any respect for these people. Like, they're intellectual midgets. They're cult members. Like, I just don't have no respect for anybody who still tries to stand behind this fool.
I'm telling you, I think it's the symbolism. Just like modern day Democrats can symbolize things without actually giving any tangible items, tangible wins. That's what Trump does. Trump's saying something to the effect of he's going to change Columbus Day or Indigenous Peoples Day back to Columbus Day. That works for them. That works for them. Them saying you don't have to be sorry to be a white man in America anymore when you never had to say it, that works for them. So they may get nothing tangibly, but it reinforces their, small-minded, short-sighted views. And literally, if the bottom 99% got over all the culture war bullshit and started to actually talk about, policies that matter, like education, the economy, gas prices, childcare, healthcare, things that actually affect your pocket and your life, as opposed to who's married to who's what gender, how black the neighborhood is, you know what I'm saying? If they started to concentrate on those things and then they notice that there's people at the top that are just making money hand over fits. And oh, by the way, I think I talked about this last time, the Sackler family, who are nothing more than drug dealers, but they're white collar drug dealers. All they had to do was pay a fine and they keep it moving. Yet black people and poor white people, never get it twisted, poor white people are in this equation as well. They go and they get jail time. Now, maybe the black people get more jail time than the poor white people, but they still get locked up. They don't get to pay a fine and walk away. So when the bottom 99% realizes that that culture BS is just that, and neither side of this freaking bird gives a damn about the shit you say you care about, then we can start to make mountains move. Then we can start voting in progressive candidates, and then we can start changing things when the rich people get the fuck out the way. But we have to get out of our own way first, and we have to actually do things for others and want things for others. Because I remember I was listening to some dude who didn't know the difference between Obamacare and ACA, and he was saying he would choose not to have it just so somebody black couldn't have it. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. So you prefer to die than let somebody a different color from you benefit as well.
I mean, I like, and it's like you say, it's about the rich people. They've pushed the narrative for the longest time that if the government does anything to directly enrich the lives of their citizens, it's socialism, it's the road towards communism, and all
Right.
giving people free stuff. Like, all that is just talking points from the insurance companies who don't want Medicare for all because they will die. And they know they'll die. Like, but this goes back, and I keep bringing this up because I want people to look into this. In 1934, the business class, the investors, the industrialists, all those people tried to coup d'etat FDR because he was presenting the New Deal, which at the time they said the same things. This is a socialist agenda. And then he brought the country back from hell. And they still hated this man. They still did everything they could to drag his name throughout history. So I mean, like, I just much
So what do you think that is, though? What do you think that is? Do you think that's just years of ingrained, bullshit that people have just been taught and it's just so drowned in their heads? Because I hear black people saying it too. So it's not like it's just middle America not wanting black people to have things. I hear older black folks saying, people need to get out there and work, stop looking for handouts. I've heard it. So what do you think that is?
Well, I don't disagree with that. I do think people should get out there and work and not necessarily look for handouts. But at the same time, if we have a situation where a woman has 3 kids, and let's say her husband or the father of her kids passed away from whatever the case may be, and those 4 people are now on living off of one income. What's wrong with the government providing her with food stamps so that her children can eat and go to school with their bellies full, and providing her and giving her some help with childcare and giving her some help with health insurance? There's nothing wrong with that. And if you actually look at the numbers, the statistics state that those type of kids usually end up getting off of those assistance programs once they become adults. So there's no evidence or anything to support the other side, which says that those things are detrimental or bad. If anything, cutting taxes is bad. Cutting taxes is what adds to specifically cutting to the wealthiest people is what adds most to the debt, which they like to harp on and on about. But then they like to cut taxes and then increase defense spending. It's all just a game, and like they don't want you to be singularly focused on the most important issues in your life. Like if you're a 26-year-old with diabetes and you're getting kicked off of your parents' health insurance, your focus should not be on quote unquote men and women's sports. Your focus should be on getting health care, health insurance, so you could get copay for your insulin so you don't die.
That part.
But like that's the game that we're in right now, and it's gonna get even worse with the development of AI and the different algorithms they put on young people. So the future is very bleak, but what I'm hoping is that this idiot and the Republican that independents, Latinos, all of those people will come running back to the Democratic Party. Which, whatever you might say about them, Rose T,
A lot.
they are better. They are a net positive for the country, more so than Republicans when they're in office.
I
I can
wouldn't
go
say net
posse by posse in
positive.
that.
I would just say they're not harmful. I think there needs to be a third party. I am a firm believer that there needs to be a third party because certain Democrats have probably just fallen under that umbrella just because, right? There needs to be a third party because a lot of these corporate Democrats mean us no good. Now, it's harm reduction, but I don't think they're here to help us either. They allow the Republicans to get in the majority, so they'll be voted out. I told you. Remember what were we talking about? I keep forgetting what she is in the Senate, and they allowed her to stop them from doing the Build Back Better plan. What was she? Remember Marky Dan? I can't remember what her role was. It was the person in the Senate, and she was like, no, it's not a good idea. So they just didn't do it. Oh, I think I lost Marky Dan. Well, he'll be back. Connections. But anyway, so we could have talked with Matt forever. So let me segue over to Candace Owens real quick. Actually, before we segue to Candace
I bet
Owens,
I
let
fell
me ask
off.
you, you're fine. Before we segue to Candace Owens, let me ask you, what's your take on the supposed assassination attempt at the White House Correspondents' Dinner?
You cut out for a second, Rose T. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you fine. Can you hear me?
Rose T, can you hear me?
Marky, you may want to leave and come back.
I hear you now. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you perfect.
Okay. You were asking me about the supposed, alleged, suspected.
Assassination. Yeah, I was saying before we
Yeah.
cut over to Candace Owens, because I got something special for her. Before we cut over to her, I wanted to know what your take was on the White House Correspondents' Dinner. What do you think? Do you think that was real?
I think it was real. I agree with you. I have a lot of questions. A lot of things to me don't pass the smell test. Like you had that
Right.
broad, the White House press broad, Caroline Levitt. You heard what she
Right.
said before it even
Shots
happened.
fired.
There's gonna be shots fired tonight. Then you have two, like, then overall, I read an article in the Washington Post. Despite the fact that you have just about almost every member of the cabinet in attendance, including the president and the vice president, there was almost like it was not, or the event was not rated at the highest level of priority in terms of
Mm-hmm.
security. So that to me, then you have two reporters there were caught on.
Oh, you're cutting out a little.
Well, oh, hold on. Let me come back real quick.
Okay, my dear.
Give me one.
Yeah, I forgot about that piece that Caroline Levitt said the shots fired. Like before I even knew what had happened, they played that little clip, and that just seemed a little weird and tongue in cheekish. And I'm just like, come on. And then just the fact that I'm sorry, this is America. A black man was the culprit, and he lived to tell the story. Now I was talking to my hubby, and he was saying normally they if it was like a inside job, if it was something they were trying to look over there, don't look over here, then they probably would have took him out because they'll eventually tell. But I was telling my hubby, I was like, well, listen, you don't know, like they could have paid money for him. He might be already dying. Then you never know what it could be. But I honestly don't think it was real. Go ahead, Marky Dan.
Yeah, I was just saying, like, there's a lot of unscrupulous things that I just look at that don't pass the smell test to me. Like I was just saying about the fact that the event was not given the highest level of security priority, despite the fact the
Wow.
president and all the cabinet members were in attendance. Then you also have the fact there were two reporters at the event that were caught on a hot mic, and they were basically saying, "Bro, they're not even trying. They just got two broads at the front door." Or no, they said they just got two chicks at the front door. They might as well just and they weren't even Secret Service or police. They were just like bellhops or hotel security. And
That's
then like
strange.
even the shooter in his manifesto, he says that it's a joke. Like he was able to check in the day before with bags full of handguns and a shotgun and knives, and like nobody scrutinized him at all. at all whatsoever. So there's just a lot of questions I have about that. But overall, I don't. And then, like you mentioned earlier, he managed to sprint 60 feet
Right.
through security
House way.
and even fire off a shot that hit one of the Secret Service. And you're telling me, oh, we fired 5 bullets, none of them struck him, and then he was subdued off camera? Like, that's kind of funny to me. That,
That
that,
part.
that smells kind of funky. But I don't think it was staged for the simple fact that if it was really staged, I don't think his manifesto would have been calling Donald Trump a pedophile. I think it would have been like the most like deranged left wing progressive, diary ever about I'm tired of trans people being abused and immigrants are getting abused. Like it would just be, it wouldn't be calling out Donald Trump as a pedophile. It wouldn't be talking about the Venezuela boat strikes. Like I think if this was really a staged event, they would want it to distract away from those things. Because, like I said earlier, nobody's talking about the price of oil hitting
Right.
$110 globally per barrel. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And Donald Trump, he was, I mean, what not? And another thing, Donald Trump, that I find to be weird, all the right wingers were coordinating, and immediately after the attempt, they were saying, "Oh yeah, this is why Donald Trump needs his ballroom. That Donald Trump needs his ball." And even like a federal prosecutor went into court today and said to a judge who was ruling on the construction of the ballroom, "See, this is a good reason why the president should have his ballroom. This wouldn't happen there." Which is just like the biggest pile of crap. Like the White House
It is.
Correspondents' event would not be held at the White House. Like the
No.
correspondence is essentially like a union. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
it's just like the NBA or NFL PA. When they have their dinner, they don't have it on NFL and NBA grounds. They want to be separate from the body
Right.
that they represent against. So
And they
yeah,
said something to the effect, and which is true, he hasn't been to one of those dinners in years. So this year of all years, you decide to go.
that's a fact.
Some ain't right. Some ain't cleaning the buttermilk, and I don't like it. But we're gonna move on. Let's talk about
Another
candy.
thing,
Oh,
one
go
more
ahead.
thing. They found a video, and it could just be nothing. It could be, he works in the tech space, but they found a video of him and Usha Vance essentially working on the same project back in 2017. Now, that could just be a coincidence, or I don't know.
No, what you mean? Same project? You mean the ballroom?
No, 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 no. It was like a tech project for like wheelchairs and stuff like that. And this was
Who
all the
was
way back
working
in
on that?
2017.
Who was working on that?
Usha Vance, JD Vance's wife.
You said somebody and Usha. So who was working with
Oh
her?
yeah, the shooter. He's a Caltech graduate.
Get out of here.
I'll send it to you.
Wow, please do. Please do. Oh goodness. See now, that's just too, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'll be the first one to tell you. That's funny. Me and my hubby, we have this argument all the time because he believes in those conspiracy theories and I do not. But when everything is screaming at you, something ain't right, I'm starting to listen. I'm starting to listen. Because something just ain't right. And I get what you're saying, that dude, was saying certain things in his manifesto about, the leader of the free country. I try to be as positive as I possibly can be. But everybody's talking about the attempt. Nobody's talking really. I haven't heard a lot about the manifesto. I've heard about the attempt. I heard about how he wanted to continue with the night. Where they do that at? You have a whole crime take place, and you're like, nah, that's cool. We're gonna go ahead and finish. What?
Yeah, that was insane. That was truly insane. Like
It
I
was a bit
mean,
much. It was a bit much, but we can talk
I
about this
mean, but
forever.
you
So
know
let's
what?
go ahead and segue to
There is
Campbell.
Prince or yeah, well at the time he was Prince Charles. If you remember, like 20 years ago, somebody tried to walk up on him and do him when he was giving a speech in Australia. In fact, they managed to get off like 2 shots, and Charles just like did his collar up and then went back to talking. What's good,
Really?
AC?
Hey,
Yeah,
AC, welcome to Rose T's Political Perspective.
Hey, how's everybody doing, man?
hey,
Doing
salute, AC.
well. So we
So
were
what?
about to transition to Candace Owens, but real quick before we do, What is your take on the White House Correspondents' Dinner attempt? Do you believe it was real? And do you have any thoughts on the Iran war, the current state, and where do you see it where do you see it
Real
going?
quick, I'll try to be brief as possible. Basically, what the White House correspondent dinner attempt. Do I think it was real? I think the attempt was probably real to show that that wants to have a bigger picture. For me, I had this thought that the person would look like this, he would look like the other, similar to a brown skinned person, so they can make that argument and just have the visuals. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's what the goal was, the visuals. Now that you've established the visuals, everything else is debatable. So at the end of the day, you've established the visuals. Now you're going to go after why that $400 million ballroom needs to be built. So, do I think it was real? Possibly, yes. Do I think real gunshots were probably fired? Yeah. So you could hear it, because when you hear it in the background, it sounds like kind of weird when you watch the video. So I don't want to have too much of a knee jerk reaction, because I just look at this administration from Butler to every one of the attempted so-called assassinations, to the fact of the two National Guardsmen who were supposed to be shot that you never heard about, the weird funeral for the one guy who was shot in Butler. Uh, the fact that on the campaign trail, this dude went into a black church and tried to tell people that black people were following him. So I don't put nothing past this dude.
You
You know,
said the Pal Power was doing that?
I didn't hear you. Sorry.
You said the Pal Power was doing that? He was the attempted the suspect. He was running around saying black people were following him?
No. What I was saying was, at the fact of that the church, when Donald Trump was running for election, he was going around, had this one black woman and these couple of other paid black people to say how much black people were supporting them and supposed to be meeting them in fast food restaurants and all of this other stuff. And then there was the whole black church scandal, where he literally leased out that church and then brought in his own black people, or tried to bring his own black people, but few showed up, and mostly white. But this was supposed to be a black church.
I
So
can't.
when you do stuff like that, it's just like, bruh, no, I'm not gonna believe. I'm not gonna have any knee jerk reactions. That, oh my God, Donald Trump, and no, I'm not gonna do that. Um, as far as this Iran war goes, again, it's now looking like it's just it's for my generation. It's like us young people figuring out why were we involved in the Korean War, and it's like, for real, that's why we went there, for big pharma, because the poppy seeds and all the stuff that grows all of these painkillers and all of these Part A and Part D pills, all of that stuff grows over there, and opium. Are you serious?
100%. But let's not get
Wow.
sidetracked. Let's not get sidetracked.
Yeah, but no, I'm just saying, for just the relationship to it. And now looking at this war and knowing that you're only doing it because you're trying to hide certain things, and Israel is basically your daddy or the lead on this one, and it just doesn't make any sense that, okay, we got so many issues in this country, why are we in this? And you ran on no new wars and all of this other stuff. It's the same sort of disappointment that I faced when it came down to Obama. You just got the Nobel Peace Prize, and then you go and bomb somebody.
Right.
Like, bro, what the hell was that about?
Right. I agree. I absolutely agree. Well, for a while now, I've been trying to get into my girl Candace Owens because she done had a reality check. So let's do a slight diversion.
What's going
Uh,
on with that broad?
Check. So Candace, and I don't know if this is popular. I don't know if this falls in line with some of the right wings, racial, or just prejudice, whatever, but she's strongly opposed to the Iran conflict. She's strongly opposed to what Israel is doing to Palestine, right? And because she's no longer carrying the water for the MAGAs, they have turned against her, child. And when I tell you they done turned against her, they are dragging her for filth. Give me 1 second. I want to give you guys a little example. Shout out to Sabby Sabs. I recorded a little bit of her video. She had put Laura Loomer out there, and this heifer had the nerve to come for Candace. Hang on 1 second. And I'm not really a Candace fan. I'm going to put that out there right now. I'm not a Candace fan. However, when you start using racial epithets to attack us, no matter who the person is, well, now you've involved me. So hang on 1 second. Let me.
I'm not
Didn't
really a
stop
Candace
there.
fan.
So
Oh, go
she
ahead.
on
made
one
this
second for me,
video.
sorry.
Jesus Christ. This is her response to Candace Owens. And I'm just going to tell you, brace yourself. Brace yourself for this response. Okay.
And I'm sorry, let me give a little bit of backstory. So Laura Loomer and Candace Owens have kind of been going at it. Laura Loomer doesn't appreciate that Candace has done like a 180, and she's not supporting the shenanigans that is coming out of this White House in support of Israel. And of course, you come to any person that is a Zionist, and a Zionist is pretty much a person that thinks that God's going to come back, and the Jews, you know, it was all ordained that the Jews were going to be, you know, perish, but they are the chosen people, so they belong in that land. And if you believe anything other than that, you're anti-Semitic, which is not true. That's not true. Saying you don't agree with the decisions of the government of Israel does not make you anti-Semitic. Saying that Bibi Netanyahu is a criminal does not make you anti-Semitic. What it makes you is somebody with eyes and ears and fucking common sense. So because Candace is speaking out for whatever reason, because I don't attribute anything of, you know, just virtuous from her. I'm sure there is an angle. However, listen, if you're right, you're right. And so I'm never going to argue you down if you're saying the right things. Well, Laura Loomer has a problem with it. So let's listen to what Laura Loomer had to say about Candace.
Hey, everybody. If there's kids in the room, get them out of the room. At least for a second. Listen to what she said about Candace Owens. This is after she attacked her children and she attacked her husband. Listen to this.
And for some reason, there's a lot of people that are really afraid of this nappy-headed black bitch who just has a lot to say, but not really a lot to offer. So I'm not afraid of Candace Owens, and I'm happy to match her energy. I'm happy to wrestle in the mud with that bitch and, you know, roll around and hurl insults back and forth with her if that's what she wants to do. I'm not afraid of Candace Owens. There's really honestly nothing that this woman can do to me. There's nothing that Candace Owens can say about me that's going to harm.
Did everybody hear what she said?
So that's
absolutely.
that was a piece of it. What's y'all's take on that?
Laura Loomer, I mean, I'm not surprised. But Laura Loomer is one of the most prominent and disgusting racist, Zionist, alt-right people, just crazy Twitter people you will ever see. On top of the fact she is a sexual predator, she goes after 16 and 17-year-old teenage boys in the
Oh, God, I
conservative
didn't know that.
movement. No, like, it's serious. Like, and there's video of it. The way how she walks up and leans on these boys. I'm telling you. And
No, I
then,
didn't know
like, the
that.
broad, yeah, no, she's a disgusting human being in every way, shape, form, and fashion. And just the fact of it, even though I have problems with Candace Owens and some of the statements she's made about the black community, it's like you said, I'm not never gonna let no Zio broad like this, no racist broad like this come out here and talk about nappy headed black bitches when this broad is, I mean, like, you talk about bottom of the barrel. You
Right.
talk about a broad, you wouldn't even put, if this president was not in office, this broad would be somewhere walking up and down a street corner with some shorts on. That's what this broad would be doing with her life. Candace Owens, on the other hand, regardless of how I feel about her, and regardless of who the president is in office, Candace Owens is a superstar. And I just have to say it. No matter what it is, people's attention gravitates towards her. And Laura Loomer has this belief about herself that she and the AIPAC and the Zionist lobbies, they are the reason why Donald Trump has gotten elected, which is not true. Donald Trump got elected because of minorities, because he managed to catch 45 out of 100 Latino men, because he managed to he actually managed to catch 36 out of 100 Muslims in this country to vote for him last time. But this broad, she is just one of the most disgusting, depraved human beings ever. She talks about Gaza. She talks about enjoying Gazan babies starving. She says that Gazans should be expelled from their homes, and that if they don't want to leave, they should be killed. She's actually said all these things, and you can look it up right now. So I'm not surprised by nothing that this disgusting, bottom of the barrel ass broad has had to say. Um, yeah, I can't wait for Candace Owens' response, because again, regardless of how I feel about some of Candace Owens' words when it comes to the black community and maybe some of our shortcomings, Candace Owens is gonna fry this broad. Like, I don't think Laura Loomer really wants this type of smoke,
She
because
don't.
she will find out really quick who the right wingers are actually going to follow. Say
Well,
whatever you want about Candace Owens. Her following within the conservative movement and the right wing of this country, it is organic. They love
Right.
listening to that black broad talk about these conspiracy theories and crap all over Erica Kirk. They love her to death.
Can we refer to women as women, please?
well,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna.
I say that about women I don't have respect for, but I got respect for you, Rose D. So absolutely, I will call them women.
Thank you, my
I,
dear. And
Um,
AC, just before you go, hang on one second. AC, just before you go, I just want to put it out there that Laura Loomer is one of the closest advisors to President Donald J. Trump. Go ahead, AC. What you got?
well,
yeah, go ahead, AC.
first, I want to start like this. Laura Loomer should really, really be keeping, her weird looking plastic surgery face quiet, because messing with Candace Owens, who is a true intellect, whether people want to agree
And,
with
and
her or
AC,
not.
one more thing, my bad. And when Candace Owens finds something or she finds a subject, she does not stop.
Yeah,
She will
and
pick
that's where
your
I'm going
life
with this.
apart and destroy you. Go ahead.
She is a female pit bull, an intellectual female pit bull. Early on in Candace Owens' career, she had many in the black community, and I'm talking black Democrats, like, oh, who is this chick? Like, coming out of whatever. She built her career on the racial profiling that she was going through, and her arrest and assaults and stuff like that. Um, and things like that. I don't know actually what happened. I think the NAACP back then turned against her. She tried to do some work with the NAACP or black colleges, and it just didn't go the way she wanted it to go, and she just had serious issues. But it doesn't take away from the fact that she was doing tours around this country in universities, just having debates with professors, people on Black history, just all kind of stuff. The chick is like, the woman is incredibly smart. It's just she took this new direction, and now she's figured out how to use the bad radio host or the controversial radio host to make money. But it doesn't take away from the fact that this is a very, very intelligent person. So moving forward, for those of us who like grew up with Candace Owens and knows her rise and her semi-fall and then her rise back to the top, is like, nah, that's just Candace Owens. She's an opportunist. She'll say what she needs to say tomorrow, but if the scale starts to lean the other way, she will go in that direction. Give her a little bit of criticism to make herself seem legit on either side, but she'll still put down an intelligent argument that's hidden behind actual facts. So that's the dangerous part of Candace Owens. Like, if she gets where I think she wants to go and becomes a political figure, a lot of people are going to have issues with trying to beat her once she starts gathering her coalition. And that's
Oh
just
yeah,
the actual
she's
cold
definitely
fact.
bright. She's very smart and she's keen and she's tapped into what folks are worried or concerned about.
Yeah, on both sides. That's the scary part. When you just look at the whole political picture, when you talk about what progressives feel, what you talk about progressive socialists feel, what you talk about, Democrats feel, whether moderate or whatever, and even Republicans to MAGA, she listens, she's reading, but then she puts her arguments down. That's just like, Candace, we hear the intelligence in you. So how could you say this dumb nonsense you're saying? Now,
Because you can tell.
dealing with that beef between her and Laura Loomer, it's like, Laura Loomer, you're a podcaster. You're someone who just rides with narratives and whatever the talking point is. There's nothing intellectual about you. Because if it was, you would have been stopped at that plastic surgery before it got where it is right now, if you were an intellect. So it's like, how
Okay,
can
now
I
hang
look
on
at
one
you
second.
and take
There's a
you
little bit.
seriously?
Thank you. So there's a little bit more. So hang on one second. I'm gonna play a little bit more, then I'll give you guys my take on Candace.
But notice Candace didn't say anything about, she didn't make it racial, but Laura took it there. Hold on to that.
I'm not afraid of Candace Owens, and I'm happy to match her energy. I'm happy to wrestle in the mud with that bitch and, roll around and hurl insults back and forth with her if that's what she wants to do. I'm not afraid of Candace Owens. There's really honestly nothing that this woman can do to me. There's nothing that Candace Owens can say about me that's going to harm me. Candace Owens is a liar, okay? And she's a deeply insecure woman who is very unloved at the end of the day. This is a woman who is allegedly in a relationship with a gay man who is always going to feel the rejection of her family, the rejection of her mother, the rejection of her family that she claims left her alone when she was 14 years old, right, to fend for herself. This is a girl whose parents gave up on her at a very young age, and she is not loved. And as I said, God hates you, Candace. God hates you.
So that's just part one. And here's the second part here.
Candace Owens is just one resentful ghetto black bitch. Like, that's literally what she is.
Now she's a ghetto one. So now here comes ghetto. Again, Candace didn't say anything about her race. Why does she have to throw ghetto in it? Why does she have to say ghetto black? Like, why? Why does that have to come in?
Candace Owens is just one resentful ghetto black bitch. Like, that's literally what she is. She's a racist too. Like, you could listen.
That's how you
All
brace
right,
yourself.
So that's
Brace
enough of
yourself
Laura
for
Loomer.
this response.
I can only take so much. And so, yeah, that is literally Candace Owens's, as we would call it, a nigga wake-up call. Because the minute she stopped toting the party line, she's back to being ghetto. Apparently, Trump did some kind of image of her looking really dragged out and looking like, I guess, a caricature of maybe a mammy. I don't know. But that literally is how it goes. So you carried water for a party that doesn't fuck with you. And granted, yeah, it might have been about the money, but apparently she married some dude that is, he's got wealth. So why are you still doing this? She used to be an Obama-ite. She, I think, worked in the campaign. She voted for him twice. So we know for a fact that this is a grift. But what you're not going to do is disrespect the whole black race because you mad at one person. And so even though Candace says things that she knows will get her clicks and views and the approval of white America that is racist, this is kind of her, I would say this is kind of her karma because you cavorted with these people. And at what point did you think they weren't going to turn on you? So in one breath, yes, I will drag anybody that disrespects a black person. But at the same time, am I crying any tattooed tears for Candace Owens, who made this bed? Absolutely not. And speaking of which, I do have a little poll. I would love for you guys to take a poll and tell me how y'all feel about Candace. And go ahead, AC. I'm sorry.
But that was just like where I was alluding to and what I was saying is that, she just has this knack that there is a side of Candace that, because if you know who she is, you're just like, all right, let her speak, let her do her thing. We all know it's a grift. We all know who the woman really is, or whatever. But at the end of the day, attacks like that, nah, that's just like from you. No, not from you. It'll never be tolerated from you. Attack her on what she actually said. Attack her on a point she made that you don't agree. But to go after somebody on that level, I don't agree with that. And it's the same way I hold that same value. I go after Mamdani because of his policies. I'm a person who voted for him, and I regret my vote, but I attack that man simply on his policies, never on his race. And I'll find myself in comments like, look, I'm attacking the dude on his policy. For you to say some crap like that, that's not gonna rock with me, bro. Shut that down. So
Yeah, absolutely. But again, I'm not surprised. She is an open Zionist supremacist. Like, so nothing that comes out of Laura Loomer mouth surprises me when she goes that low. And then she's not going to attack any points that Kansas makes about her Zionist brothers over there because she knows there's no defense. And she doesn't feel like she has to defend anything. She feels like Candace
Said
is a
about
subhuman
Zionists.
that is below her, and that she does not have to even and that the fact that she even has to address this girl is below her in and of herself. But she's about to bite off more than she could chew because, again, I'm gonna say it, when Candace Owens locks into something or when she makes somebody the focus of her show, she is going to destroy them. And Buchanan and Laura Loomer is going to have those same right wingers she thought were her fans. They're going to be coming over to her page, trolling her day and night with the stuff that Candace Owens dredges up from the depths about her. Because I know for a fact, like everybody, like there's probably so many different human sources of information about the garbage human being that Laura Loomer is, that Candace will be able to bring out on her show. So I mean, like, this is just. And Laura Loomer said it herself. She wants to roll around in the mud. So I'm not surprised by nothing this lady has to say about Candace Owens. I'm really not, and I don't think that there's any like low or depth that she won't go. Like I'm actually surprised she didn't start talking about lynch mobs or whatever or stuff like that. Like that boy James Fishback in Florida, AC. I think you seen that when the black dude was asking him questions about his allegations. So, hey, but like Candace made this bed. Those are the people that she chose to cohort with. She shared a vote with Laura Loomer when it came to putting Donald Trump in the White House, and you know that seems to be in-house business over there. So, God bless her in that fight, and I'm gonna look forward to watching it. I'm gonna just be honest. I don't mind seeing people roll around in the mud intellectually.
Right. And Candace actually, she has, kind of got back at her just a smidge. She referred to Laura coping with her depression and anxiety with cocaine. Schnoschnane, apparently, you can't say those words. So Schnoschnane. And apparently one day she was so hopped up, she ended up driving to the edge of a cliff ready to end it all. So this is who is advising the nation's leader.
I
And
mean,
back to
nothing
what
about that surprised me. I mean, look at the nation's leader.
that part, because you can't tell me he's not on something. But and then that leads me to I love that you brought up the Zionist principle, because like I said, anytime you say something against what the government of Israel is doing, you're now labeled. And they're acting like somebody's doing something to harm them. And so one more thing Sabs brought up, Sabby Sab, shout out to her. You guys go check out her channel. She's a wonderful progressive.
Shout out to her.
She brought up a gentleman who basically was not scared to tell the truth. So hang on one second for me.
The subway takes uncut. Listen to this.
Give it to
Sorry, I
him.
gotta fast forward.
Well, it's been nice having a career with you.
Same. Let's go down with the ship, Captain.
American Zionists get the benefits of, white privileged people, but talk like they are black people during slavery.
100% agree. I've never seen something so shocking where they're like, I'm so
Oppressed.
I'm an oppressed person. I'm like, you are going to a wedding in Tel Aviv right now when there are 80,000 dead people and more, 80,000 plus dead people, including women and children, half a mile away.
This guy right here, Casablanca, is from the band The Stokes.
It's actually the Strokes. And let me hear that one more time. I want y'all to hear that one more time because people don't get it.
I want you to hear what he said about Zionists on the Subway Takes Uncut. Listen to this.
Give it to
Sorry, I
him.
gotta fast forward.
Well, it's been nice having a career with you.
Same. Let's go down with the ship, Captain.
American Zionists get the benefits of, white privileged people, but talk like they are black people during slavery.
100% agree. I've never seen something so shocking where they're like, I'm so
Oppressed.
I'm an oppressed person. I'm like, you are going to a wedding in Tel Aviv right now when there are 80,000 dead people and more, 80,000 plus dead people, including women and children, half a mile away.
Now, that to me, that shook me to my core. That was one of the reasons I was able to vote third party in my state that is a notoriously blue state, because I couldn't, with all good conscience, vote for either one of those candidates that were funneling money to a country and funneling weapons to a country that was murdering children, murdering innocent women and men. Because why? Because they're Palestinian, because they're brown skinned. Whatever the reason, there's a genocide going on. And the folks that are supporting the government of Israel act like you're doing something to harm them just by saying you don't want innocents murdered. What's your take on that, AC?
My take is pretty much this. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I consider myself in this new political climate, since we've just been in this forever hostile political climate since Obama took office back in 2008. I've just become an America First Democrat. I got to deal with what's here in that term, and if I'm going to then make the argument of Zionists, then I would then have to have a beef with Dr. King and many of those political leaders that actually fought for civil rights, because they believed in Israel as a holy land. They believed in the Bible. They believed in all of that, and that was wholehearted. When you look at many Black community churches these days, it'll say the Zionist Tabernacle, blah 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 blah. So that's where I have to be like, okay, where does this line end? And if we do one particular thing because of a purity contest, then who are the ones to actually reap the rewards of my protest? Because my protest does have consequences, whether it's for me or against me, it will have consequences. So when I try to weigh most of those things out, I have to deal with who's driving the bus right now. Everybody else, okay, I'll deal with you when the time is right. But right now, there's someone who's driving us over the edge of a cliff, and his partners are sitting there with guns in our face. So in my day, it was, when I'm coming into my consciousness and my political consciousness and everything, it was, why is America involved in these Arabic conflicts and things like that? And early on it was, oh, it was the Jews because look at what happened in 1960. America started, giving money and military goods, and America backed Israel 11 minutes after Israel declared its independence and things like that. And yeah, and then AIPAC was formed, and then this and that. And when you go through that entire history, this stuff was done even before I was born. So this is a history that precedes everybody that's on this panel right now, and most of the people even listening. So at the end of the day, how did we get here? Well, we got here because of something that was done way back in 1948. Does it still change? No, I don't know. I don't think so. It'll die down and then come back. Same thing with Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia has managed to rewrite its own history to where everyone is damn near acceptance of Saudi money, no matter what the sport is. Oh, because they bring luxury, and look at Dubai, and everybody wants to go to Dubai. Eventually, Israel will be there one day. So it's the person in charge right now. Let's talk about Bibi. Let's focus on Bibi and his administration. So the identity and who we're identifying is crystal clear. No one has to say I'm being a racist if I'm talking about Bibi. And at the end of the day, most people disagree with Bibi. So if I stay within there, I don't have to worry about you coming at me or you writing goofy things in the comments and saying, "Oh well, oh you're just a anti-Semite." Well, I don't know if you want to talk about these Yiddish-speaking Jewish people as anti-Semites when we're really should be talking about is the true African Hebrews of places like Ethiopia. I mean, I'm just saying that's how deep my history goes back with understanding the difference between what we're seeing right here and what was said in the original text of the Ethiopian Hebrews, that there will be those who look like us, act like they worship like us, but are not us. Those are the anti-Semites. It's clear as day in its scriptures. So if this is what you want to blame me for, pointing out the fact that your leader is doing this, so be it. I'll take that criticism. But understand, I'm identifying the same problem that other people see. And I'm identifying the problem that this leader has you young men throwing away your belief system and questioning your own belief system because you're doing these atrocities against humans. You cannot call yourself Jewish under David, under Abraham, under nobody if you're part of the IDF, if you're part of Netanyahu's regime. So those who follow him, let you know who you dealing with. The real Hebrew followers of the real Jewish faith, they're not the chosen ones. Mm-mm.
Right. And I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. Marky Dan, what's your take?
So I agree with AC on some things. I do agree that Trump and MAGA, they are the problem of now. They are the people that unleashed ICE onto our streets, that racially profiled and kidnapped people, that gunned American citizens, that multiple American citizens down in the past year. They've had dozens upon dozens of people die in detention. On top of the fact, we've seen like just the concentration camp type of conditions that have been exposed of what those detention camps look like. I mean, they violated a judge's direct order to turn a plane around that was headed to a death camp in El Salvador. Uh, there's so many different things that we could go into with MAGA, even just outside of ICE. I mean, like the Epstein files. There's so many different other things. I mean, the fact that our the path we were on with renewable energy has now been set back by at least half a decade to a decade. So I agree. Like there's so many different things. And then our elections. This guy is talking about sending ICE to the voting booths to check people's citizenships. On top of the fact he's trying to press up on states to get people's voter rolls and their confidential information. So, and on top of the fact, he doesn't even acknowledge that he lost the 2020 election. So there's questions about if he'll even accept and me and AC have had conversations about this before. Like, we don't even know if he'll accept the outcome of the 2026 midterm elections. And then, I mean, and that's even without getting to the gerrymandering. So I get 1,000% what AC is talking about. And I get that AC feels like the purity tests are tedious or that they're not relevant, but I think that they are. If you cannot call out blatant crimes, blatant things like targeting children in those articles I read the other day, blatant things like Smotrich and Ben-Gvir talking about dropping nuclear bombs on Gazans, blatant things like Israeli settler terrorists. If you cannot call those people that are committing crimes in the West Bank terrorists, if you cannot call the IDF for what they're doing in Lebanon and in Gaza and in Syria terrorists, I have certain questions about you. And I have certain, and then it goes back to AC, what you're saying. Why do we keep getting in these wars with the Middle East? There was a defense memo that was a rumored defense memo that was reported on in the Defense Department that talked about 7 countries that were going to be invaded and their leaders were going to be toppled: Iraq, Lebanon, Libya, Syria, Sudan, Somalia, and the 7th, Iran. And we already know that it was in 2003. The current, I can't remember the name of the Israeli prime minister at that time, but Netanyahu, who was the opposition leader at that time, he came to the U.S. He said that Saddam has weapons of mass destruction. He aided the Bush people in their campaign of propaganda to push the American people into war. On top of the fact, we also know Bibi Netanyahu has been pushing for action against Iran based on lies about them being 2 weeks away from a nuclear bomb for years and years. So, like, that alone, just excluding that and all of that nonsense, I feel like if you cannot call out things that just seem to be like relative reality, or rather a shared reality, things that we all can see with our 2 eyes. We all see the news reports that are coming out of Israel about them deliberately targeting women and children if they pass a non-demarcated line. They drop grenades on them from drones. And we all see the reports about Gazan children with sniper rounds. These are stuff being reported on from trauma surgeons that are on the ground in Gaza. If you can't call out these things, I have real questions about what you're going to do and what you're going to vote on when you get in there. This is all without talking about the fact that our tax dollars, Rose T's tax dollars that she worked for, AC, your tax dollars that you work for that come out of your check, my tax dollars that I work for and that comes out of my check, that gets taken out and it goes to the IDF to pay their people, so to pay their contractors so that they can get more tanks and drones and missiles and buy more jets to drop ordnance on top of these defenseless Gazan people. I have serious questions about you if you cannot just call out objective reality. So I hear where AC is coming from, that we have the most important issue right now is getting the orange guy out, but just respectfully, I think the orange guy is going to do itself in. Like, we see it every day as the price of gas continues to go up, as he continues to just make the most odd and absurd statements, which on top of portraying himself as Jesus Christ and disrespecting the Pope, which is cutting his base with Catholics and Christians in half. Then he's betrayed the I will vote for Donald Trump. He's betrayed the Latinos that got him and a lot of that majority in Congress elected. I think they're going to do themselves in. And I really think we need to have this conversation right now, because I understand that there's different atrocities going on around the world that we don't necessarily get involved in. There's a
Right.
genocide going on right now in Sudan.
Mm-hmm.
There's apartheid and slavery going on in China right now with the Uyghur people, the
Right.
Muslims. But we don't fund those people. Our tax dollars do not go into funding those people. And then the craziest part about it is like we don't get anything back.
Right.
It's not like
We're
it's a
sending
it's
them
a,
back.
a bilateral relationship with what we have with Ukraine. Ukraine buys our interceptors through the European intermediates that give them the money to buy it. They
Mm-hmm.
don't buy nothing. They're welfare queens off of our money. And
That
they
part.
take that money to go murder children.
Right.
So I just have serious questions about all of this, like not even getting into the weird and absurd ideology of these people that makes them believe that they have like ethno supremacy over that land and over anybody walking on that land. But I'll pass the mic on that. I'm completely, completely opposed. If you cannot, like I saw this lady, I think she's running for a congressional seat in Philadelphia, and they said to her, "Is there a or is there apartheid going on in the West Bank? Will you acknowledge that Benjamin Netanyahu is committing crimes?" And she actually did like this performative theatrical thing where she's like takes off her glasses and she's like holding her chin and like she's thinking deeply before she answers. And then she says, "As black people in this country, we've had to go through some tough things. And I feel like when we say the word genocide to the people of Israel and to the Jewish people, that is like calling them the N word. Shut the F up. Get
What?
out of here. I will send you the clip, Rosie, and I'll send it to
Please
you,
do.
AC. You want this person to be in office in 2028 when we have to figure out who's going to be our congressional candidate, and we're going to probably have to run against Marjorie Taylor Greene and
Maybe
Thomas
not.
Massey or Tucker Carlson. All of
Yeah.
these people who say whatever you want about them, they are meeting the moment when it comes to Israel.
Right.
And I really think, and I showed AC the polling last week. The polling is going up sharply for support in this country for Israel, or excuse me, for Palestine, for Palestinians across
Mm-hmm.
all age groups, across all demographics, across all political parties. So we want to, like, I'm just saying, I think we need to put the boot to these Zionist supporters right now so we could build our coalition for 2028. That's
I
my
mean,
opinion.
it's
And
really
we'll see
follow
what
the
happens.
money. Right. It's really follow the money because nobody believes this mess. Now, you maybe your older folks who definitely live by the Bible, who believe that this is ordained, but I don't think they take into account that France and Europe and America got together and was playing soldiers with land. So older folks maybe, but right now, anybody that's toting this party line, Chuck Schumer, is supported by AIPAC. Hakeem Jeffries,
Why would you
Cory
send
Booker,
bulldozers to Israel?
because they want
Explain
to mow
that
the
to me.
lawn, quote,
Why would you approve bulldozers going to Israel?
because they want to level Palestine, quote.
Exactly. There's no defensive measures you could use bulldozers for. What is that?
There is none, and they know it. They know it, but nobody
And we're
stands
in
up
debt,
to it.
bro. See, we're running deficits while we send
Right.
these people this money.
Right. But they don't care because they're still getting rich because the lobby keeps their pockets fat. Like I said, these people only make 200,000 a year. There's zero reason why they have all this money, why they're millionaires and billionaires, and not all of them are trust fund babies. So in that vein, let's go ahead and go to my last subject, you guys, because I got to get out of here. My sissy Maria had me do a little bit of research on Governor Wes Moore. He's only the third Black elected governor in this country. If God forbid they elect Byron Donaldson, he'll be the fourth down in Florida, but I'm praying that that's not so. But Florida most likely runs red, so he may get it, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what the criteria is anymore because look who they've elected to the highest office in the land. So Byron Donaldson, as far as I'm concerned, is an angel. But let me give a little background on Governor Wes Moore, and you guys tell me what you think. So he's basically, you know, an up and comer. They liken him to a progressive. He's trying to get the state's maps, you know, like redistricting of the state's map so that there will be a better stronghold for Democrats, which I think is amazing because at this point, Republicans do it. We need to either start doing what they do or continue to lose. But I think we need to start doing their things, but for good, right? So he's doing that. They says he has initiatives for education, initiatives for, you know, just transportation and things like that. But for whatever reason, it's not coming to fruition. Some people say that he's spending too much time on his national profile. Maybe he's trying to climb that ladder. Maybe he's trying to be the second person of color elected to the highest office in the land. I don't know. I'm down for anybody that has progressive ideologies, anybody that believes in, you know, supporting the bottom 99%. I'm for them. So I'm cautiously optimistic. I don't know if you all have heard of Governor Wes Moore, but he was the governor when
Yeah, I've
we
heard of
had
Wes.
Okay, we had a bridge collapse. So we have a huge infrastructure issue in Maryland, right? So a bridge collapse, some people died, and you know, folks are wondering why isn't more money being dedicated to our infrastructure? Now, I live in what's called Prince George's County, and by last take, we were the second richest county in America. So it is beyond my realm of thinking as to why we have potholes so big they look like tunnels. Our schools are, when they get the grading scale for the school, they're like 2s and 3s as opposed to 10s, which are in the mostly predominantly white neighborhoods. You can't say more affluent neighborhoods because I live in a pretty affluent neighborhood. However, our school is a 3. So I need to understand where the money is going. Now, granted, do I blame it all on Governor Wes Moore? Absolutely not. I think our local state, Congress, our local Senate and our, city council people, they bear the brunt of this because they're not attributing these dollars to the right place. However, I think it is a whole person concept, and he does bear some responsibility. Where are these initiatives that he promised when he was running for office? What's standing in the way, and why aren't you ringing the alarm bell if you're not the problem? I'm a sit still and listen to what your take is on that. AC, what you got?
Well, from my little bit of sitting down talking with a couple of politicians, through me being a chef and these politicians making stops and stuff like that, and I just had questions and things like that, which created its own little moment within the local newspapers and things like that. And with many situations, when you're talking about small pocket type of communities, I have no idea how large your community is, what the per capita income is. Based on what you said, it's pretty affluent, so I would gather it's above, $150 million. So with that being said, sometimes when places choose to militarize their police force, that's going to eat up a huge portion of your budget. The second part is, unfortunately, when you choose to go down that road of labeling yourself a progressive, to the other more established parties, which you guys would call the establishment, would look at it as, okay, these are people who have these grand ideas but don't understand how government actually works, don't really care about how important lobbyists are and lobby groups, and how, no matter what platform you stand on, if you're in Congress long enough, you will be a millionaire. and you will become part of the establishment. Also, it's just the nature of the beast. You choose to lie in bed, and if you want to make that part your career, then there's things that happen when you take leaders in leadership that come in with the grandest, boldest, most, oh my God, I gotta vote for this person, because it's like, okay, when do you learn the lesson that if it sounds too good to be true, more than likely it is.
Okay, let me interrupt you right there real quick. Hang on. What makes it too good to be true? Because we find money for all the wrong things. So what makes it too good to be true?
Okay, so when you say, I'll use an example from my city. I can't speak from your city. I don't live there. But Memdani came in claiming that he was going to make MTA buses free. MTA, along with Eric Adams, put in a toll, a gridlock toll. That MTA came out last year and reported that they made over $550 million. So there's no need for fare hikes. This will carry their fiscal budget and all their projects through 2027. After Memdani is announced to be the winner, MTA comes out and it says, oh, we're raising the fares on all bridges and tolls, all city buses and subways, and LIRR. Memdani rides the MTA to work his first day in office. Then he announces these couple of plans from MTA. So this is a policy you ran on. This is a policy many people voted on, because if you're talking about affordability, the first way to get to that is by going after MTA and at least having MTA give us something back, because we pay a fee or a tax to MTA. It's a communication tax through our cell phones, if you're a resident here, and if you have cable here. Do you know what I'm saying? Also, if you're a resident here, on your payroll, there's an MTA communications tax that everyone pays. So you're getting all this money from the taxpayers. You're allowed to have bridges and stuff like that. When you talk about a monopoly over a city, that's what it is. And you, the progressive socialists, said you're going to handle that by making them give something back. And what happened when it didn't happen? You said, well, we got to blame the governor because she said it wasn't going to happen. No, the governor didn't run on that, bro. You did. So you sold us something that was way too good to be true.
Okay, let me ask you this, though. Because if he had a plan, and that plan, I do believe, was to increase tax rate for people making over a certain amount of money. And if the governor puts a stop to it or a roadblock in the way of it, don't you blame the governor and don't you name and shame? Because that's what Trump does.
No. I do not blame the governor off of what you said, what you ran on. If this was your plan, you should have had it. It has nothing to do with the governor.
Hold on.
I'm the chef.
Is she actively blocking his initiatives? That's my question.
No, she is not actively blocking his initiative, because his initiative, he said he was going to tax the rich. You know how he taxed the rich and then made this weird announcement? Oh, you found some arbitrary tax. You found an arbitrary tax that you can use on property, and all the person has to do to circumvent that is to put somebody there that actually lives there. Once that person lives there, that tax that you just put on that property is now irrelevant. So this is what we're talking about as far as saying, okay, if you have a plan, this is what you ran on, then at the very least, it should be on paper. This is why the fact that this entire movement was hijacked from Elizabeth Warren, who always had a plan.
Yeah,
the real progressive is Elizabeth Warren. Bernie Sanders, the opportunist, stole that from her, because her rise was off the fact of Occupy Wall Street. She was part of that. She was Bernie, not Bernie, Todd, what is this dude's name? Barney Franks. Barney Franks, she was one of his assistants. She co-wrote all of those housing bills that got us out of that. Elizabeth Warren knew the numbers. And when Occupy Wall Street was doing this thing, and then it started to fail because people started to realize, hey, wait a minute, these are bunch of bratty ass trust fund babies that are just mad at their rich parents and want to stand up and have something to protest for. Bernie Sanders then came out and said, no, the argument, I get you for the Occupy Wall Street, but your argument is really with the millionaires and billionaires and the corporations and the establishment.
It's true though.
But that's
That is
not
where your
that's
argument is.
no, that's not where your argument was. And that's the mere fact of once you get there and once you start to own your own business and once you start to do these other things, then you really learn where the real villains are. And
no, the real villain is the millionaires and billionaires. When
no,
I
they're
tell
not, because
you,
I want to be a millionaire and billionaire,
you can
so
want
I'm a
that all your
villain.
life. You can want it, but it doesn't mean
And
it's
I'm
going to
working
happen.
towards it.
When
I'm
I
working
pay,
towards it.
hold on, when I pay more in taxes than like Signet and freaking Chase, when Talisha
I gotta hold on. Can I stop you right there? Because
wait. No, but hold on. When Talisha Conklin, retired military woman who now works a job and is basically just trying to survive, when I pay more in annual taxes than a what is it? What do they call them? Like basically corporations, like a $1 billion a year netting corporation, but I paid more in
Fortune
taxes.
500 company. That's
what I meant to say.
So
I
let
paid
me
more in
so let me
taxes, and then I
interject real
also
quick.
owe taxes. So
Let me
I
interject
paid
real
more.
quick.
Go ahead.
When you start a company, right? And I'm gonna speak again for New York. When you start a company, there's you do your LLC or you incorporate to take the individual away from the liabilities of the company. As the individual, the company has to you the founder of that company have to pay yourself a minimal salary. So in theory, almost everyone that works in the company actually, according to your W-2, makes more money than you, because I can have an executive or just a high level employee that I'm paying, more than $1,000 a week. I have to file for the minimum. My money is made off of just me being able to tap into the account. But what I pay in taxes is the same exact thing that every other poor person pays, because my annual salary is only $52,000 a year. I get to tap into the resources of my company. So it's not the company, it's the freaking individual. The company just does what the company does. It hires people from all levels of a tax bracket. It's the owner. I still pay those same taxes as every one of my employees.
Yeah, you pay the same taxes as an
but
individual. But
I
your
can
$1
tap
billion
into
netting
something else,
company,
and I have what?
hold on,
Let me just land it right here.
Hold on, AC. Your $1 billion netting company is not paying those taxes. So you,
because I hired a CPA. This is somebody who went to a university to show you I can do this stuff.
Hold on 1 second for me. You, the individual, is maybe paying taxes, but your $1 billion netting a year company is not paying taxes. You're paying zero in taxes, yet you're putting zero into the economy. You're giving back zero. The only thing you may be doing is have some lobbyist that's going to go put money in the pockets of the lawmakers that's making these tax credits and making these tax codes so low that people like me, middle America, is freaking dying. So
but my $1 billion a year company pays taxes and insurance on every one of those employees.
As you should. As you should.
Here's the reality. Here's the other part of the reality is. At the other part of the reality is this. Even though I have this $1 billion a year company, right? And this company is sometimes don't pay taxes. That's because I hired a kid who went to school, who has a degree in showing me how to circumvent the tax laws that this country created.
Who you're also underpaying.
IRS. So then you talk to IRS, because at the end of the day, as long as there's these loopholes that can be created by people who go to CP that are CPAs.
You're probably not the
CPAs. I didn't do it. I didn't know this shit like that. It's my CPA that does this.
Your
AC
problem
is
is the
speaking
lawmaker.
facts about those loop. AC is
It's
speaking
not the
facts about those
lawmaker.
loopholes.
The
It
problem
is
is
the
not,
lawmaker.
the problem lies in the fact that we have a system that says this. Okay, you start here. You're going to go from here all the way to 360. Now that you made it to 360, here's some little secrets now to just do the same thing, but now you're just doing it in 90-degree turn. So boom, here's a CPA for you. Here's a financial projection specialist. Here's a hedge fund that you also hire. Here's algorithms that we created that show you how the market moves and where you place your money and how you can place it. And then within all of these structures, you have all of these people that teach you how to circumvent this stuff. If your argument is never to be there, then you can't freaking complain about it. Why don't you try and do it? I'm trying to do it. Why
No,
don't you try to
billionaires
do
should
it?
not exist.
And I'm not saying it
I'm
to
Billionaires,
you,
actually
I'm
trying
saying
to
it
do
to
it.
everyone. Don't sit
I'm
there
billionaires
actually
and
should not
trying to do
exist.
it,
complain
AC.
that the glass is half empty when you can get off your ass, go to the freaking go to the sink and fill the glass up your goddamn self.
But how long has that method been not working for you? How long have you been going to that sink and then there's no fucking water coming out? So you could say to your blue in the face, you just haven't worked hard enough, when it's really they have put things in place systematically
So how was it hard to
to keep
how
people at
hard is
the
it to
bottom.
create an algorithm? If
Guess what? Let me
everyone
tell you something. I've been a part of those hiring practices where people with PhDs in the DC area are only being offered $50,000 a year. When I tell you the system is designed to keep the bottom at the bottom. So you can say all day long you have that American dream. Guess what? That dream is fucking it's fake. It's a nightmare. It's fake. It's not real. And until we get
I
lawmakers in
can't say
office,
that.
hold on,
I
hold
can't
on.
say that.
Until we get lawmakers in office that cut through some of this corporate greed, then we're going to stay at the bottom. So you need to get somebody in there that's going to make laws and rules that regulate these companies, cut out the monopolies and regulate these companies.
But we realize that this shit gonna be online, baby.
No, I get. I'm sorry, but I get what you're saying. So at the end of the day, for me, this is an argument for the younger generation. Me, I see it differently because I've gone through so many industrial revolutions. And if y'all think the issue is Israel and everything else, then by the time the robotics and AI really start to kick y'all in the ass, y'all gonna be like, why did we waste so much time talking about Israel when the fight for our jobs, our security, equal pay lies in the fact that once this stuff matures and it goes online, there's nothing I can do because these same millionaire and billionaire companies, they don't give a crap about me now. They're not going to give a crap about me when they replace me and make everything AI. So
Well, we
that's
gave
why I'm
80
trying to say,
billion to Israel last year.
know
We
your
gave 80
argument.
billion. Yeah, but we gave 80,
Know your
hold
argument
on.
and know
We
where the
gave
argument
80
really lies.
billion to Israel last year. So you know what that 80 billion could have been spent doing? That 80 billion could have been spent teaching people how to work this AI. That 80 billion could have been spent teaching people other
But they
facets
have those
of the
programs and people
economy
still
that
are
people
not
can
doing it.
actually
Those
gain
programs been
income from.
existed since AI was early being developed. Those programs been existing. That's why they all going after DEI right now because
So
those
you're
programs
gonna
been
ignore the
existed.
80 billion we sent to Israel where we won't even
That's
bother to
irrelevant. That
say
is
it's not
completely
irrelevant. It's
irrelevant to the
not
fact
irrelevant. And the
that the
fact that you think
programs
it's
are
irrelevant,
there. The fact that the grant.
the fact that you think it's irrelevant lets me know that you have drank the Kool-Aid and you believe in that bullshit American dream that they keep trying to sell you, but it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. They
I'm
tell
gonna
you
say this.
if
Let
you
me get
work
in.
hard enough, you can survive, you can strive, you can be at the top, but they purposely leave you at the bottom. And I'm sorry. Go ahead, Marky Dan.
But I gotta
Let
split.
me
I'll
say
catch
this.
you on the next one. I gotta take this phone call that's been trying to come in.
All right, AC. Thanks for coming out.
Yeah, for sure. One love to everybody.
Love you to death, AC. Love you to death, OG. But I'll say that I believe that the American dream is real. My mother came over here from Grenada. Now I say this, that was in the 80s. She came over here. She was homeless at 18. She became a lawyer. And she became very wealthy. Now, I'll say this. Nowadays, the American dream is definitely vanishing. That middle class that they sold a lot of people on is definitely vanishing unless you're somebody like me, and I say it a lot. that I came up I am very privileged to have the mother that I had because she's passed a lot of properties and a lot of wealth on to me. She's helped me to start my real estate development business so that I can continue to make wealth for myself. But if you're a young person and you don't have that type of privilege that I'm blessed to have, I don't really see how you could get out of the situation you might be in when you have to pay for things like health care, or you might not be able to keep your head above water when it comes to feeding yourself, or if you don't necessarily have the skills to work these what they might call um what's the word I'm looking for? Like a mandatory job that's needed, like a firefighter or something like that, because all the other entry level stuff, like working in hotel lobbies or working at banks or even just working in a goddamn drive through and maybe having 2 or 3 jobs, that's gonna be gone, like AC said. Or being an Uber driver or being a delivery driver. All of that is gonna be taken out by AI. The freighter trucking, that's going to be taken over by AI. So I hear what AC is saying. And if there's a tax policy that we should target, it should be that we tax the hell out of or tariff the hell out of these people that are building these robotics and these AIs to replace us. We tax the components that they need, and we tax them high, not no little 10 or 15%. I'm talking 60% for whatever metal alloy you need to bring in from X, Y, and Z, India, or wherever else hell in the world. Tax the hell out of them to incentivize them to either continue employing people my age or pay the damn tax. And that just brings in the government revenue so that you could pay for some of my Mdani's projects, which, again, I don't agree with Mamdani on a lot. I like his stance on Israel, and I like that his fervor when it comes to helping people when it comes to the affordability crisis. But a lot of the things Mamdani proposes are cuckoo, batshit, and I think are going to be in the long run destructive. Like government-run grocery stores, that's going to kill a local mom and pop businesses in the New York area. Rent freezes, that by itself, like if you have a housing crisis, you don't freeze the rent. You create more supply of housing. So what he should have did, in my opinion, he should have sat down with his council because he had a mandate from the people of New York. He won more than 50% of the vote up there. So
Right.
clearly they liked his proposals. Sit down with the New York Council and you change the strict zoning laws that y'all have up there so you can have more construction of apartment buildings and whatnot. But if you freeze rents and the demand stays the same, that's just going to create more hardship on the actual homeowners and the landlords. And what
But
might
aren't they
eventually end
running
up
out of space
happening?
in New York anyway, though? So the unfreezing of the zoning, that's not going to help because New York is already packed to the gods.
Well, you got to figure out something. Freezing the rent is not going to help. That's not going to help. That's just going to put more stress on the supply side of it. You have to find something to create more supply. And I'm not seeing him doing that. I don't think that a lot of those socialist policies are going to be helpful to the New York economy in the long run. But at the same time, he's a young progressive candidate, and I want to see what he's going to do. But in the
Right.
long run, I don't agree with a lot of these policies. Now, the original discussion was on Westmore.
Right?
Westmore, yeah, we went to a whole other thing. But AC is an anti-Mamdanius, and I get it.
I see.
Trust me,
I
I get
see.
it. I get it. But
You one of
Westmore
them old
is
liberals from way back. We might
yeah,
think Jim
absolutely.
Clyburn's a good guy.
Jeez. But Westmore is kind of like a semi-Zionist. He gets support from APAC, even if not in the form of money. APAC thanks him all the time for his stance on Israel. I think the other day, he actually was in support of upholding a state law, which is essentially an anti-Israel boycott law, which says that if you
No
or your
BBS.
company encourages boycotts of any Israeli businesses, you can no longer receive state funds. So, and that's on
Wow.
a different array of things like Medicare, Medicaid, and all those other things. So if you're and SNAP.
Wow.
So if you're like and Section 8. So if you're like a soup kitchen and you get some of your funding through SNAP or through the state's nutritional fund, they're gonna
Right.
cut you if you dare say anything about Israel. So that alone,
Wow.
I don't like him for. But he has
Wow.
a lot of good progressive policies. He talks about wanting to make sure that Maryland is 100% on renewable energy by 2035. He pushes a lot of wind projects and solar projects, and he shoves a knife into the ass of the orange guy any chance he gets. But again, like, and maybe this is what AC is talking about with our purity tests, that we might not get everything we want with a candidate, but I need for you to call out objective reality of what is
Yeah.
happening over there.
Yeah, that's a
Don't sit
bare
up
minimum.
here and smile in my face and tell me that I'm being a bigot or I'm being anti-Semitic for calling out what's going on over there.
That
And
part.
then you call out what happened. I remember that story that happened with the bridge collapse. I remember that.
Right.
I don't really know what is going on with. There's a lot of funding allocated from the Biden infrastructure bill. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
why there's so many potholes in your state. I don't know why
Yeah.
the infrastructure is not what it should be. Maybe it's a thing of planning. It's taking a little bit long. I don't know, but that falls on him as well. So I mean, you're in his state, so you would be the Westmore you would be the Westmore grade. And then another thing, I will give Westmore a lot of credit for. He brought in Miss Carrie Wright, excuse me, Dr. Carrie Wright. And for
Okay.
those of you who don't know who Dr. Carrie Wright is, she's the current superintendent of Maryland. He brought her in from Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Carrie Wright is like the Michael Jordan of education in the United States of America. I read an article in Atlanta, in the Atlantic the other day about how her and her policies turned the state of Mississippi, which is the poorest state in the union,
That part.
around and made it one of the states with the top literacy scores in the country, despite all their holes when it comes to funding for their state and their kids. And then you got people stealing out of their welfare funds and all that goofy stuff. But she, through different policies like giving grades to teachers and grades to schools and sending home reports to the quarterly report, not even quarterly, monthly reports to the parents, as well as giving these kids three, not just one Iowa test, three standardized tests per
Mm.
year. So I don't know if she's brought those policies yet to Maryland, but I was very impressed to see that Westmore managed to snatch her up from Mississippi, because they call what she did down in Mississippi the Mississippi Miracle. And you have a
Mm.
lot of states that are trying to copy her policies that she put in place down there. So listen, Westmore, I agree with him on a lot of different policies, but again, it comes to the question of Israel and can he be swayed when it comes to, again, we had all these hopes with Obama, but look what he did to Libya.
Right.
And he wanted to do, and even though I don't like, Bashar al-Assad was a brutal dictator, one of the worst human beings on planet Earth. When you look at some of the things he did to his own people, when it came to literally murder, like they found mass graves of thousands of people that disappeared from decades ago when this man took power, of
Mm.
thousands of people. They found people that were gassed, people, little children that were shot in the head in mass graves all over the country. That was at this man's behest. So can Westmore be swayed into doing some of those bad foreign policy decisions with what we've seen with from Obama to Trump,
Right.
then to Biden, and now back to Trump? I would like to
Right.
see something different in the foreign policy realm, but when it comes to a lot of the domestic policies, I agree with him on a lot, and I like a lot of what he's doing. And I'll just say that.
Okay. Well, one thing I didn't like was you said she was up to like the 3 standardized testing a year. I found that when testing is the benchmark, they teach the tests. They don't actually teach the material. So I actually would like less testing and just more
focus on the curriculum. Literally, I've watched my daughter prepare to test, and what is she retaining? Nothing. So, but if there's a way to turn these school programs around, I'm all for it, and I'll stand up beside her. They just got to find a better way to build that mousetrap. And hang on one second, because Dayla made a point, and I definitely don't want her to think I'm missing it. She said, but again, why would these big tech people stay in the U.S.? They will take it to some place like India where they can get the labor and they won't be taxed. So they did that already. So you can say we're not going to tax them, but they've already gone to those countries and we've lost a lot of our manufacturing. So they use those good tax shelters outside of the country. But there's some that's here and there's some that need to operate here. And I'm thinking anybody that's here that is over a certain amount of money per year, tax them. Roosevelt, who I don't like because he didn't give black people GI bills, but he taxed them to hell and back, and the economy was booming. So it is doable.
Yeah,
but
Roosevelt was taking a 90% tax from the top earners.
That part. But Marky Dan, go ahead and give us some closing statements. Let's go ahead and wrap this up. I really appreciate you and AC coming out. And I don't know if AC has a channel and it, definitely drop it in the chat.
No, I don't. No, AC don't got a channel. He mainly pulls up over by my channel. I'm gonna be going live tomorrow on the Democracy Briefing. I'll drop the link once again for anybody that wants to pull up tomorrow. I'm gonna be going live around between 5:35 to 6 p.m. So please pull up. Well, let me see what Della Baguetto said. Did Marky Dan just say the Iowa test? Nobody knows what I'm talking when I mention them. Apparently it's open. Yeah, I know. Like they switched the Iowa test with something else. So yeah, it is old people terminology now. Like, I guess I fit into that generation. But yeah, I remember the Iowa test. They switched it with something else now for the kids going from elementary to high school. But what I'll say, once again, please pay attention. Do not pay attention to this White House or correspondence assassination attempt. It is a distraction. You got way more important things. You got wars going on all around the world. You got healthcare being stripped from people. They're about to pass, or rather, they're trying to pass an extension of the spot of Section 702, or is it Title 7? No, I think it's Section 702, which is the spy bill, which gives them the right, and they're trying to spy on us on our phones and snoop through our information to see if we're to check if we're national security threats. But I wonder what else they might be checking for, what else they might be trying to get on us. I would just pay very close attention to that, as well as, pay attention to what's going on in your local state governments, because, Rose T said it right there. We spend a lot of time focusing on MAGA and Trump because they deserve to be focused on. They're dangerous people. But why, despite all the funding from federal legislations, are there so many shortfalls in your locales? Those are questions that should be asked of your state and local government, and you should get an answer. I think everybody that pays taxes should be able to get that answer. But like I'll say one more time, I'm going live tomorrow between 5:35 to 6 p.m. Eastern. Please pull up. Prayers for the people in Lebanon. What's going on over there is absolutely criminal. And yeah, I'll leave it there.
Thank you, Marky Dan. I always appreciate your insight and your vast knowledge. Like you've educated me on some things just from being, in your presence. So I appreciate you. Everybody go out to the Democracy Briefing tomorrow at 5:35 Eastern Time. And thank you so much for coming. I appreciate you too. And you take care, honey. So that wraps up another one of our lives. This is our second political live. Thank you guys for coming. You guys make it just so wonderful. And I just appreciate you so much. Trying to think if anybody has any questions really quickly. I can, answer any questions you may have. Thank you for the participation. Thank you for just being here. I really appreciate you guys. And we're going to try to, do this every week, every Tuesday at 7 p.m. I'm going to be here. So hopefully you'll come here and armed with some questions. Shoot me an email. Let me put my email in there. And if you guys have any questions for me, feel free to shoot something out there, something you'd like to learn about. I know one of the previous people was saying that it might have been a little too, high level for them and they may need a little more weeds and seeds. I do not mind getting into weeds and seeds. Just let me know certain things you'd like to know about and I can definitely break it down for you. That's one of the things before TYT went to the dogs. They were really great about educating you on the different facets of government. So let me know. And I appreciate you guys for coming out. Y'all have the best night and I'll see you soon.
We broke it down tonight, the state of where we stand. How the moment is the people working hard across this land. But every voice we raise is a step we take. And together we're the ones who spark the change we make. So till next time, keep your head up, stay connected. We're building something real and every story is respected. Yeah, the power's in our hands with every move we make. We're lifting up the many, not just